Welcome back, everybody, to the Fantasy Hockey Hacks YouTube channel. I'm Devon Davidson, your host. With me, as always, Bruce Gunther. What is happening?
Oh, just kick my microphone to start the podcast. A great way to start. So
You're just testing its durability. It still works. We're good.
Durability test and see if I can juggle a microphone. Apparently, I can do neither. So,
well, hey, today it seems like we haven't done this forever, Bruce. I can't remember the last time we did a stream.
I almost forgot all my stuff at home this morning when I had to go really old school. I got halfway out the door. It's like, crap, we got a stream to do today. I better go grab my stuff.
Yeah, so here we are. June 15th, the Stanley Cup Final finally begins this evening. And for me, so today we're going to cover, obviously, our game preview and our picks, our DFS plays, and our prop bets like we always do. But for me, Bruce, this is probably the most exciting Stanley Cup Final I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. I think 2015 is the last one I can really think of. It was Tampa and Chicago. I was really excited for that series because I was kind of cheering for the Blackhawks at that point in time. But
yeah. Well, the nice thing about this one is that both teams are both top teams. There's no Cinderella story. There's no nothing. These are arguably the two best teams in the East and the West going at it for this. So that part is fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be an all-out war for the next. I hope it goes 6 or 7. Right, we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, I think it'll go 6.
Yeah, that's right. You were talking about that with me earlier this morning, and that makes sense to me what you had sort of laid out there. But, well, let's just jump into it. Let's talk about the numbers here.
Yeah.
So through 3 rounds, I don't think to anyone's surprise, Colorado has the better 5-on-5 possession metrics. 57 Corsi for percentage, 58 shots for percentage. They've outscored their opponents 45-29, so a 60.81 goals for percentage, and they've outchanced their opponents 389 to 261 for a 60 scoring chance for percentage. Now, if you look back at how they got to the Stanley Cup Final, right, they manhandled a sorrowless Nashville Predators team. They had a bit of a challenge with the Blues, and then, of course, they swept the Oilers in what was probably a closer series than what the final numbers indicated, but that could be my rosy outlook as an Oilers fan too, though. But I
don't think it was that close.
No. So, I mean, looking at it, this is going to be by far their biggest challenge to date in these playoffs. And they haven't come across a goaltender like Vasilevsky or a defense like the Tampa Bay Lightning have.
Oh, that is exactly it. They have not played against a goaltender to Vasilevsky's level, and that is going to be a huge challenge for them. It's not going to be these rush chances that they're getting. Vasilevsky is going to stop most, if not all, of those chances. This is going to have to be greasy, ugly goals. It's going to have to go through 3 or 4 people. That's the only way you're going to beat Vasilevsky. That is the only way you're going to beat him in these playoffs.
And we know Makar is pretty good at getting those shots through traffic. We saw it a few times with the Oilers. But let's talk about Vasilevsky here quickly. So for him, in these playoffs, 1.81 goals against average, a .939 save percentage, and an 8.1 goals saved above expected. On the road, where he'll be this evening, 5-4 record, 2.80 goals against average, and a .910 save percentage. So the challenge for Vasilevsky and the Bolts, can he step up his level of play in Denver?
Yeah, and you take a look too. That the big reason why that number for Vasilevsky is so low was the Leafs series, where he was not himself.
Yeah.
But if you look into the Florida series, and then now with the Rangers series, arguably the first 2 games of the Rangers series, he wasn't really himself either. But apart from that, he looks locked in now, and that's going to be a tough challenge for Colorado. Tough one.
We should talk about Kemper too. So on the other side, 2.65 GAA, 897 save percentage, and negative 5.23 goals saved above expected. At home in these playoffs, he's got a 3-2 record, 2.79 goals against average, and an 895 save percentage. So safe to say, Bruce, the advantage goes to the Bolts in goal.
Oh, absolutely. There is. They are going to need Kemper to fix shine up his bifocals or whatever they did to his eye, and they are going to need a monster game out of Kemper in this series if they have any hope of winning. Now, if you start trading chances, Vasilevsky is probably going to stop 3 out of 5. Kemper isn't going to stop that many.
Yeah, agreed. some other notes here for the Avalanche. Looks like Nazem Kadri, his status is still unclear at this point. I heard Frank Saravelli say this morning that he didn't believe he was going to play until later in the series. I think that was him speculating a bit, but still no news. Have you seen anything this morning, Bruce, as far as Nazem Kadri is concerned?
No, excuse me. The one report I read said that he was out for this. For him and Cogliano were both out for game one.
So right there, I mean, you have to think, again, advantage Lightning because Brayden Point's going to be back in for the Lightning. So that's now they've got their second-line center back. And so the forward depth, at least for this game, looks like it could be tilting a little bit anyway to the Avalanche or to Tampa.
Well, yeah, if you're going to line up with basically Stamkos, Point, Sorelli, and then is it Nick Paul or is it Colton that's the fourth line?
I think Nick Paul was playing third-line center.
So Paul, let's say Paul drops down to fourth line center. That's that's going to be a tough one for Colorado to match. Granted, what Colorado might do is they might double shift MacKinnon in that case, or Rantanen will see more ice time too in that place. Confer will have to definitely step up his game as well, but with Point back, that's definitely advantage advantage Tampa. Sorry.
And then defense, is it kind of a wash in your mind, or where do you view the defense? Like, I mean, I'll throw a number out at you here. So 5-on-5, the Lightning have given up just 24 goals this postseason, so an average of 1.41 goals per game. The Avalanche have given up 2.07 5-on-5 per game.
I would take Tampa's defense because Colorado's defense, they did a pretty good number there on McDavid for a couple of games, but they couldn't do it all series. And look at what Tampa's defense did to basically Kreider, Panarin. Like, they shut them all down. And not just
Florida.
one. Yeah. Like, you look at Florida for a great example, right? Like, that team had scored the most goal. They set a record this year in the league for most goals scored. And Tampa basically turned them into an AHL team. Like, it was...
Yeah.
That is what Tampa's defense can do. And that is what Colorado has to look forward to here tonight, because we all know Tampa is going to be voted, because a three-peat in this era is tough. Really tough to do.
That solidifies their dynasty, right? If they go ahead and they do that, I mean, how many of those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame when they're done their career, right?
Yeah. And we will find out how well Makar and Taves can defend in this series. Like, Tampa doesn't necessarily have a MacKinnon or a Makar, but you look at Kucherov, Hedman, Stamkos, Palat, the way he's been playing. Point, if he's even 75% of himself. Tampa's got lots of talent that can score. You look at Hagel, Colton, Corey Perry. Like,
they've got lots of firepower.
Tampa's no slouch in that department either. And in better, they're even more set up, because you look at the goals that Hagel and Colton and Perry and Palat score. They're all close in, greasy type goals. They're not flying off the rush fancy goals. They're in tough, and MacKinnon doesn't score many tough goals. Makar doesn't score many tough goals. He can get a shot on. He may get an assist off of it, but we'll see. It's going to be a huge challenge for Colorado to try and beat Tampa's defense. I take Tampa's defense.
Well, and the other thing too to keep, and we talked about that in our podcast on Monday night. It is advantage Tampa when it comes to the penalty kill, when it comes to goals against per game, when it comes to goaltending. So all those things, defensive play, and defense wins championships, right?
Absolutely.
I wanted to just mention here quickly. So Tampa on the road, their PK is at 91%, which is third overall in the playoffs, and their power play is fifth at 26.5%. And then if you look at Colorado, at home, their power play is only 23%, which is ninth, and their PK is 77%, which is 11th. So their special teams actually haven't looked as good at home, and Tampa's been pretty good on the road. So that's another thing too to look at. I mean, Colorado may win the 5-on-5 battle potentially, but when it comes to special teams and goaltending, they're going to have a really tough stretch here. So I guess let's talk keys to the game here, Bruce, quickly. So for Colorado to win, what's one thing they need to do here?
Colorado needs to come out fast, and they need to fly and keep flying the entire game. If they allow Tampa to keep them to the outside and lock the inside down, Colorado isn't going to have much of a chance.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's going to be 5-on-5 scoring. Like I said, puck possession metrics. If they can continue getting pucks on net early and often and try and get into Vasilevsky's head, that may be the difference there because they're struggling with special teams at home. And then let's talk about Tampa. So for me, the difference there is going to be Vasilevsky and special teams. For you, what's the difference for Tampa?
The big thing for Tampa is just to play their game. The way they closed out the Rangers, just keep playing that way. If they can keep playing that way, I don't know if this series goes 5 or 6 games.
Time will tell.
Exactly.
All right, so with that, Bruce, let's get into our presentation here. Obviously, Tampa, Colorado, plus 135 on the money line for Tampa, minus 155 on the money line for Colorado. Probably no secret, I'm going to go with the Bolts here at plus 135 on the money line. Anytime you can get the 2-time Stanley Cup champions at plus money, I'm going to do it. But I guess, Bruce, you're predicting that there's a potential letdown tonight and maybe Colorado squeezes one out at home.
Yeah, Tampa hasn't won game 1 yet in this playoff series, so I guess except for the Florida series, right? They won game 1, but against the Rangers, against Toronto, they went down in game 1. I think Colorado is going to come out flying. I think Colorado is going to establish what they want to do tonight, and I think they'll take out tonight's win. It's not going to be a blowout or anything like that, but I think they're going to do enough to win tonight. And then I think after that is Tampa's going to figure out what they need to do, and they're going to turn the screws to Colorado. So I'm going to give Colorado this one, but I think depending on how this turns out, I think it's going to be Tampa for the rest of the series.
All right. Our records to date, I'm 51 for 83, just shy of 62%. 45 for 83 for you, 54.2%. Let's talk prop bets, starting with our shot props. I'm going to go with Brayden points here at over 2.5 shots on goal per game. Bruce at plus 140. In 7 playoff games this year, he's got 3 shots on goal per game, and his career playoff average is 2.46 shots on goal per game. So as long as he falls somewhere in between his career average and what we've seen from him in the playoffs so far this year, I think that's probably a safe bet at plus 140. And then Nikita Kucherov, over 3.5 shots on goal at plus 140. He's averaging 3.55 shots on goal per game through 9 road games this postseason. Goal props, Nathan MacKinnon, anytime goal, plus 125. I don't know that the Avs are going to win this game, Bruce, but I can certainly see MacKinnon flying down the wing, ripping one top corner, and then getting beat somewhere else.
For Colorado to win, he needs to score.
Yeah. He does lead the Avs in goals with 11, and he also leads the team in individual scoring chances for at 76. He's also second in high danger scoring chances with 26. Nicholas Paul, we talked about him earlier. Obviously, he's been a big, impactful player for this team. I've got him for an anytime goal at plus 360. He's actually tied with Nikita Kucherov in goals on the road with 3. He's second on the team in high danger scoring chances with 23, and he's third on the team behind Kucherov and Stamkos with 43 individual scoring chances for.
Very nice.
So at plus 360, I definitely like that one.
Yeah, because he scores the type of goals that you need to win in a playoff.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about DFS picks here for a second. Steven Stamkos, I like him. He's been pretty good for the Lightning so far. 14.4 fantasy points per game. Obviously playing next to Palat and Kucherov doesn't hurt. As a winger, I like Arturi Lehkonen, $6,000. He's been effective throughout these playoffs. He's playing in the top 6 for the Avs. I believe he was somewhere in the top 4 or 5 for scoring chances generated for the Avalanche. Cale Makar probably doesn't need much of an explanation there, but as a D-man, I like him. Vasilevsky, I'm taking, if it's him or Kemper right now, I'm taking Vasilevsky.
Definitely.
Brandon Hagel, he's actually had spurts of production, but I like him more so just as a value pick at $3,400. He's averaging over 7 fantasy points per game, so not a bad option there. And then for my showdown lineup, I've got Kucherov as my captain at $13,800. I've got Stamkos, Palat, Hagel, and then I've got Makar and Landeskog. I don't see any shutouts happening tonight, so that's why I kind of wanted to balance my lineup with a couple Avs and then a couple additional Lightning players.
And then for mine here, so my lineup kind of reflects my pick for tonight. So for center, I got Nathan MacKinnon. MacKinnon needs to have a good big game for Colorado for them to be anywhere near successful in this series. Same with their captain Landeskog, so I've got him as well. The aforementioned Kale Makar. Can you not take Kale Makar? Vasilevsky, just because it's the goalie matchup. I just can't, unless Kemper does something amazing here in the first game that changes my mind. I'm not going against Vasilevsky at any time, even if he gets hammered and peppered with shots from Colorado. I'm still taking Vasilevsky. And Hagel, because for same reasons before. It's just he's in there. He's everywhere. It's good value. I think a good value pick. In my showdown lineup, Nathan MacKinnon is captain. Kale Makar, Nichushkin. Almost said that wrong twice. Lehkonen and Palat. Palat and Kucherov, they've been a great combination. And then I've got Hagel as a value pick in my showdown lineup as well.
All right. Well, that does it for today, Bruce. Just over our 15-minute target time, but that's okay. So I guess we'll be back again for another game preview. I'm not sure that we're going to continue doing our game recaps, given that there's only one series. So we will be back in a couple days with our next live stream. In the meantime, be sure to check out our podcast, Fantasy Hockey Hacks Podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at FH Hacks, on Instagram at Fantasy Hockey Hacks, and check out our website, fantasyhockeyhacks.com. Bruce, we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Take care.